Hey everyone, welcome back to the Souls on Fire podcast. Today I am joined by a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Natasha Devi. She is a full-time mother, a sharer of many medicines, and she shares in many places she travels to. She's right now stateside sharing medicines with a few local groups. And today I kind of wanted to talk to her. I've always admired her story. So, as some of you know, or many of you may know, I went to Peru in 2017 to do ayahuasca with my brother. On this same trip, I met Natasha, and she had a fascinating story about how that changed her life and kind of the course of where her life was going. And so I wanted to talk to her about that, have her talk about some of the medicine she's experienced, what value she's found, kind of how it's helped her in her journey. So others who are maybe wondering if they want to explore these medicines have a little bit better of an idea as to their benefit, their use, maybe some things you want to keep in mind. So anyway, I'll stop rambling. Natasha, so when you went to Peru, was that your first time out of country?
No, not out of country, but first time traveling alone out of country.
How
Yeah.
was that experience traveling into Peru by yourself?
Well, I was a bit fearful, to be honest. I was fearful, a little nervous because I didn't know the language, Peru's Spanish, and I only knew English and the little bit that Spanish that I learned in school. It's like colors, numbers. Yeah, not enough.
Right.
A little nervous about that, and trying to navigate this place by myself. But somewhere deep inside me, I knew that that was part of the work, that I had to do this alone. So yeah, I did. I just booked my ticket and I went.
And had you done ayahuasca before?
Had never tried any medicines except marijuana, and at the time I hadn't really been using marijuana like a real medicine.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the first of anything that I tried, really. Yeah, it was
Jump right
intense.
into the deep end.
And I'm happy now looking back because I didn't have anything to compare it to. I just went in and I did this, and I'm happy I did it in Peru. The first one I did was in Peru. It really gave me a different perspective on how these medicines should be worked with, and the
Mm-hmm.
experience people should have when serving them, and just doing it in a very traditional way. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that.
It's a side note on that. It's interesting as I start to share Kambo a little bit more. I've only shared it a few times, but as I start to share it, you hear stories from people about people they've gotten it from before that it makes you wonder, I guess, from where I learned, if they're really respecting the medicine. But anyway, we won't go too deep down into that. But I do remember when we were down in the Maloka, you had mentioned that it was in your family to some extent that you were either empathic or a healer by nature. Um, and so, how did we could go on and on and on about all the experiences you had on ayahuasca, either one of us, right? It's just like you get bajillions of years of knowledge and information, and it's kind of crammed into a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, how was that process? Like when you kind of discovered you experienced this, right? And it just opened up your mind. Like how did that, I guess what started that?
Um, what started it? Like me? I don't understand. Sorry.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Obviously the ayahuasca started it, but
You mean my path down there?
not necessarily. Well, yeah, that's a great question. So let's start there and I'll try to figure out a way to better articulate what I'm trying to get out without saying it all at once.
Yeah, yeah.
So what
So
started your path down to Peru?
before I came down to Peru, I was living in New York and I was really depressed actually. I had just gotten a job. I had been working really hard, studying for the bar exam, finally passed the bar exam to become attorney. Um, got my first job, thought, yay, yeah, I got my first attorney job. This is the goal. I was really happy about it, but the work wasn't what I thought it was. And I wasn't happy doing it. To be honest, I didn't really want to be an attorney. My mother wanted me to be an attorney. I just went because I wanted to finish and prove a point that I could finish this school, pass this test. And so, anyways, I started working, and it was just so crazy, the hours and the kinds of things that I was working on. It didn't feel, I wasn't aligned. It felt so out of alignment. And that's what triggered me to start my healing process, to really start my healing process, to really go in deep. So that's why I booked that ticket to go to Peru the first time. And and in that time, wow, like everything helped me. All the medicines helped me. The people I met, you, everybody, it was just cohesively everything together. Really, really was what I needed in that moment. And I went back to the States, and knew that my life wasn't there anymore. So I packed up all my shit. I sold my stuff, and I was done. And I was planning, I was supposed to come back to Peru, not long after. I was coming down with my mom, but we were in the middle of this court proceeding. It was for a friend who passed away. She was killed. And it was a horrific way that she died. It was terrible. It, I don't wish that for anybody, even just your friend. I don't know. It was just really bad. So we went to the court hearings when this girl died. This is a year or so after she passed away, when they finally did the murder trial. And we were there, and I was looking at these attorneys and looking at them like, is this really the system? The defense was, they were tearing her apart. She was dead already. And they were trying to make her out, she was raped and killed. And they were trying to make her look promiscuous. And they were trying to make it look like she asked for this. And it was crazy. And I was so upset. And I remember talking to some attorney friends and telling them, and they were like, well, that's the way it is. That's how the defense is supposed to go. This is the work. And I was like, oh shit. Well, I'm not going to invest any of my energy in this. Like, I'm done with this. This can't be what God put me on this earth to do, to play into this bullshit. No, 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 no. So I was done. So then I left. After the trial, I went down with my mom. We did medicines together. She it worked. Things were helping her. I could see she was making progress with the medicines, but she was so upset seeing me there, and probably seeing that I wanted to live there. So she was just, then all of a sudden she was against it all. But I stayed afterward, um and it's the best decision that I made, because I really followed my heart. I really, the goal was, the point was, as I was going to stay in Peru, so my friends and family could come down, and there would be a familiar face there if they wanted to embark on a healing journey. That I was there, I speak English, all of that good stuff, that they know me, a familiar face. And and I'm so happy that some of my family and friends have come down so far, and even more so, people are getting interested and asking. And but yeah, that's what led me down there. Like, really, it was just the disappointment of what the system really is. Like, I just couldn't invest my energy into it anymore.
It's interesting because right before I had gone down to Peru, I worked for DA's office, district attorney's office in Colorado. And I don't know if there's anything I can or can't talk about, but without being too specific about people, or it seemed like everyone knew that the system was broken. Anyone you asked, hey, does this, what we're doing, work? And it was like, asking that question robbed them of their soul, because there were a few times where, there were specific questions I'd ask specific people engaged in whatever line of work they were throughout, police, DA, sheriff, whatever, court system. And it was interesting, you'd ask like, oh, hey, how effective is this? And it's like, everyone was like, oh, it's not. And there was just this moment of like, okay, well, why do we keep doing it? Well, if this doesn't, we know it doesn't work. Everyone that comes into this building says, yeah, this isn't really effective at stopping crime. Then why don't we just stop doing what we're doing and do something else?
Yeah.
figure out some other way. Anyway, that could go on for a while, but absolutely, I could totally understand it because that's kind of what drove me away from it too. Was that all it was just this highlight reel. Working there was this highlight reel of just the worst of humanity. It's like, whoa, I can't. I don't want to be involved in seeing being exposed to that stuff. It wasn't really, not making any claims about whatever, but it was just not for me, right? It was like you said, it was just completely out of alignment. And then going down, uh, I'm sure you may know this, but I was kind of hunky dory, just carefree. And I went down to Peru. Dave invited me down there, and then obviously my eyes were ripped open, and I was shown all this amazing stuff. But for you, uh, you had talked about being a healer, and if you want to share experiences, or if you don't, that's totally up to you. But I'm curious, um, at what point in your vision journey did that get amplified, or did you really kind of dive into that?
So in my ayahuasca visions, my grandmother came to me and she told me that she gave me her hands, something that she gave me with her hands, that she used to do this healing with her hands. And since I was young, I've been working with my hands. I've been doing healing with my hands, not knowing a label to put on it or words to put on it, but I've been working with this since I was young, and it used to scare me. I remember sharing with a few people, and they were like, "Oh, you're crazy." No, that's not real. And I remember I shied away from it for a while until I was in college, and then I did for somebody, and it was very clear that something happened from it. So that's when I got more interested. And after the vision that I had, I was like, okay, so this is something that I need to look at more. It's a gift that I've been given in my family. And to be honest, I think a lot of people have these gifts. It's just a matter of tapping into it. Um, and not being fearful of it, embracing and all this. So then I started to embrace it more afterward. Yeah, and that's all. I think I just started to embrace it more, and I after that first trip to Peru, one thing that really helped me is I started letting go of the opinions of other people. I started I was just very clear and focused on what I was happy with, what I wanted to do. And I was just in my lane doing this, and I didn't care what anybody else was saying. So that really helped me jet set me into the work that I'm doing now. I probably could have been doing before, but I needed
Right.
the I
Well,
needed
your journey was to learn, right? You had to experience all these things
yeah,
to get
yeah,
to that point to develop your character enough to now be able to go into your future as this leveled up person. You got all these experiences, and it's like, okay, great. Now I'm at another level in consciousness, but you had to climb all that crap to get there.
yeah, yeah. And I don't I'm not I don't regret anything. Like, it all led me to where I am now. The
Yep.
That made me cry, the things that made me angry, the things that made me joyous, it all made me who I am now.
Hmm.
So yeah.
And that's such a wonderful way of looking at things. And I think we obviously can all hear that and know that, and that's in 75% of motivational speeches is something to that effect, right? But it's interesting what I've found in my growth because I've kind of studied the occult for a long time. I study, kind of the behind the veil stuff, all these, old writings and taboo subjects. Um, and so you have an intellectual understanding of things, but it's fascinating and amazing when those lessons start to sink in and you actually start to embody them. It goes from an intellectual understanding of kind of what Buddha said or something to oh no, I can be that. And it completely flips your world upside. Like, I'm sure if you were to stay going at your legal firm, for your life would be completely different than what it is now, right? Um, so what happened? So let's talk about what I get asked about sometimes, um, is Kambo, right? My experience with Kambo was I thought it was very pleasant. Like, going through it, there's a video I have of me having a very terrible time with it. When I went through it, I just kind of felt it, and then I start puking, and I was like, wow, that wasn't bad at all. And apparently, I passed out for a while,
Yeah.
but it helped. There were so many things that had completely changed on my body, my mindset. Like it was a very, very powerful ceremony, ayahuasca aside. But how did you get started, and what, I guess, compelled you to really dive into that medicine and sharing that with others and exploring
Well, with Kambo, my first experience was something really magical. I passed out 4 times, and I don't remember passing out, coming back, passing out, coming back. I don't remember doing all that. I don't remember passing out, but what I do remember is I had this beautiful vision of I was in the jungle following my grandmother and my father to this beautiful waterfall. It felt like they were taking me on this journey, and something about that um, really clicked with me. Like they were taking me somewhere. We were going somewhere. And it was just so beautiful. And things happened for me afterward. I was, and I didn't know what the words were for it at the time, but I started researching, and I'm pretty sure I had Kundalini awakening after or during and after, because things just started lining up for me. Things just, and things that I didn't need in my life just started falling by the way. It just started falling to the sides, and Kambo really just helped align me. It really helped me focus. It really helped me. Um, One thing that the natives work with Kambo, they work with Kambo saying that it clears panema. It clears this negative energy that we're holding on to. And it could also be bad eye from other people, but it's like it gets rid of that bad luck that you're holding on to. And I felt that happen. I felt it so strong. And it's really inspired the way that I work with the medicine now, because I am focused on Panema. But from that experience, I knew I wanted to share that with people. Um, Not just because of I felt like I had a lot of spiritual healing from Kambo, but it also helps physically with so many things. I was in Peru and sharing alongside people, like helping them, being like an assistant while I was apprenticing, learning. And I saw a guy with a stroke. He couldn't walk well, he couldn't write with his hand. And he did Campbell, and he walked up the hill the next day for another session. You know what I mean? He showed me that he could write with it, not very great, but he could write with his hand again. He was able to feed himself that night. Like he had use of his hand. It's things like that. There are more stories, but that one always just sat with me. But it's like, yeah, I saw these things and I was like, oh, okay. So it's helping you in all realms, spirit, mentally, physically. It's helping. I must work with this. And then I wasn't even thinking I must work with this. I was thinking I must share this with people. And it became that I must share, I must share, I must share, to now this is my work. So yeah.
it.
Yeah, Campbell really, that first ceremony really inspired me to do what I'm doing now.
It's there's so much that I want to talk about there. That story you just shared, I share that often with people, right? I remember that post that made a huge impact on me, and I share that with others and talking to them about what you had experienced with this man who had a stroke. Uh, and I had my own the first time I used Kambo, right? I had kind of this, whatever reaction. But before going there, I started developing these white spots on my gut, and
Yeah.
I started to look like a cow. It was weird. These big giant white spots, like somebody shot me with a white paintball gun. And I had gone to multiple VA doctors, multiple private doctors. They had, cut parts of tissue out of me and done all these tests, and nobody could figure out what was going on. There were some pills they could offer me. We could start doing changes in diet, like all kinds of things, right? Subscription services they were going to sign me up for. And I was like, no, I don't really, who cares? I look like a cow. Who gives a shit? Didn't worry about it.
Yeah.
And the first time after I did Cambo, these things turned fire engine red. I mean, it was like somebody shot me with a red paintball gun. And I think that lasted for maybe a day, and they were gone, and they've never come back. you know, it's like all these doctors ran all these tests and they're like, we have no idea. And it's like just using this one medicine. And that was one of many changes that I experienced with Kambo. It completely got rid of it. Right. And so it was so amazing to see.
No,
Oh, go ahead.
I said nature knows.
Yes. Yep. That is what is most fascinating was, and Dave and I talk about this a lot, how I think it was, there were multiple times where multiple participants would experience the same thing. So that rules out the, you know, hey, you guys are doing drugs in the jungle and just seeing fancy colors and imagining dragons, right? Right. But four people saw that,
Yeah.
right? So that rules that out. It's not just people having this crazy illusion. Um, and with when you would go into the medicine in the ceremony and you would set your intention in the cup, you know, it's like, okay, I'll play along. And every night, everything I asked for, I got sat down on a roller coaster and I got taken on this show of everything I needed to clear out that was tied to my intention. So it was that intelligence or that entity, that being, that whatever it is, it was so fascinating to experience it, right? Connecting with it. And yeah, it was so different. Anyway, I could go on for a long time about this. So um
Just to add on that, I've always felt that there are people, more Westerners, when they talk about ayahuasca, more so when they don't know about it. They say it's a hallucinogen. You're just hallucinating. And the people in Peru, the natives there, there's no way they would ever say it's a hallucinogen. It's not a hallucinogen. They're going to say it's medicine. It's medicine. It's utilized as medicine. This is where intention is so important. You must have intention when you're sitting with it. But I've always thought that ayahuasca, when you drink ayahuasca, I think, I don't know about the studies on it, but what it feels right to me is it's you're accessing a different part of your brain. You're accessing a different part of your brain that where now you're able to experience and see spirit world where you couldn't before because it's activating this part of your brain. It's so you're not hallucinating, and that's why there's multiple people experiencing the same.
oh, we lost her. I'm going to pause this and we'll be back. And we are back. Sorry about that again. Natasha, please continue. We were talking about the shared experiences on ayahuasca.
Yeah, and I was saying, I think that rules out the fact that when people are having shared experience, like a similar experience, then it's not that they're hallucinating; they're
Right?
experiencing the same thing. I think for sure that the medicine is activating some other part of the brain. It's allowing you to enter spirit world, and that's what people are experiencing together. Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's not just with Aya. I've had that similar thing happen with mushrooms and yeah, it's just beautiful how you guys how people, when you're sharing that space, sometimes y'all enter the same space as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Um, there was a participant who sat next to me one night, and I think you know some of the things I processed when I was processing my war trauma. You were talking. That was one of the most fascinating things. Is you described one of my visions. Right?
Yeah.
Not something I told anybody, not some like I was sitting there playing with energy one night. Like I could see just all this energy around me and I was throwing it around. I didn't tell anyone about my vision. And then the next day in the Maloka, you described it to me exactly
Yeah.
what I was doing. It was like, there's no way. It's impossible that this is just I'm tripping balls in the jungle. Like this is something else. And so
Yeah.
the other thing I found fascinating was, you know, when you move into the spirit world, time doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So it was like my second night there, it felt like just hundreds of years. I lived so many different lives. I experienced so many things. And I remember kind of coming to in the Maloka and sitting up and it's like it takes you a minute to remember what life is this now, you know? And it's like, oh shit, I quantum leaped back home. And I looked at Dave and I was like, dude, how long was I gone? And he's like, what are you talking about? You just laid down, you know, and then sat back up. And, you know, like, what do you mean? And I was like, there's no way. There's no way that's only been 5 minutes or whatever it was. And so, yeah, that I'm sure you had a very similar experience where it's like, there's that moment where it's like, okay, now I've seen completely behind the veil. Like I want to chase this.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, mine was with Kambo when I was following. Yes, amor. My kids want to come in here. Yes, I'm a little busy right now. I'm gonna come out in a minute, okay? That's why you said full time mom at first, because that's needed to be said.
I've got three littles too. It's
They're pretending to cry like it's the end of the world right now. But yeah, when I had sat with Kambo and I was following my dad and my grandma, I felt like I was gone for days. It felt like I was
very
gone, just walking and walking and walking. And then I came to, and they were like, "Yeah, you passed out for about 20 seconds." I was like, "Oh, okay."
no, I've been gone so much longer than that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's amazing now. Time really, and after that is when I started. You always hear time is just a figment of your imagination. Time isn't real. Da, 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 da. And I was always like, ah, bullshit. Of course it's real. You can see it. But after I experienced that, then I'm like, okay, there's truth to that. There is a lot of truth to that. So yeah.
Yeah, it was such a fascinating, eye-opening experience. So, um, and like in a lot of ways, like I totally dug your story because I totally wanted to do that. That is something I feel like I was just in love with. I never knew because growing up in the United States, everyone has one parrot, or there's like two in the store. And one day just laying in the hammock, waiting for ceremony at night, sitting there rocking back and forth, and there's a flock of parrots. I was like, holy shit, parrots fly in flocks, which is it's stupid to even think about the fact that that surprised me. But just being in nature, all around, the jungle, all the noises. Oh my gosh, just
The noises were beautiful,
yeah.
especially at yeah.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. And then the rain. Oh, anyway.
Oh yeah.
Um, and so okay, here's one thing I did want to touch on. When you talked about I had a very similar experience coming back to the United States. You're in the jungle and you're just completely connected with nature. And then when I flew into Houston, it's like when you could feel yourself getting close to a city because the energy, the tension, it was just so right. I don't know, it's so uncomfortable. And then I'd take off again, and I landed in Colorado Springs, and then we jumped on the highway, and it was like I felt, it was a very weird feeling. Um, so what did you have? I imagine you kind of talked about it a little bit, but you had a similar experience, right? Coming back, it's like there was a deeper connection than just like what you talked about. We see these physical beings, but there's something underneath all that, right? Did you have a similar experience with kind of the background radiation, so to speak?
Yeah, like, when I got back, when I was going back to New York, it's the same. It's something like I describe it, you're going for healing. Most of the time you're going for healing because of the environment that you're in and the people that you're around. Because of this, and now you experience all this healing, and now you're going back to this, now you're going back to that place. So integration is so important because you can fall deeper into that, whatever it is that you went that you were seeking healing for. You can fall deeper into it, when you go back. But when I was going back to New York, I just arrived in New York, and um, well, I had a conversation with my ex at the time. I had this beautiful vision in ayahuasca where I visited him, and I told him all these things, and we had this conversation. And when I saw him, he told me he dreamt me, and we had the same, and it was the same conversation in his dream. And it was beautiful. I broke up with him in that conversation, and he told me, yeah, you broke up with me in my dream. And I was like, yeah. So that happened. So there's another thing. Spirit world, it was real. I didn't hallucinate. That was real. That happened. But yeah, when I went back to New York after all that, I said, what am I doing here? I'm not happy here. Like, um, and I'm grateful that I recognized that, and I just changed. I just left it. There was no point for me to be there. And I know if I had lingered around there longer, yeah, it's toxic, man. I mean, it was toxic for me. It's not, I'm not saying New York is a toxic place. I'm just saying for me at that time and what I experienced, yeah, it was just not a place for me to grow. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely experienced it. Energy is real. I know that more so now than ever before. Energy is real. When you go to places, you can feel it. You can feel it's thick, or you can feel, things are flowing. But it was thick where I was, so I left.
And to your point, some people I know I have a lot of friends and they love it. They love the vibe of the city. They love the that kind of high energy. Whereas I'd much prefer going and getting a tent and just sitting in mountains and not
Yeah, I
participating.
love being in the jungle, man. It's nothing else like it.
Yes, it was just so calm, and you felt like I don't know, it was weird. It was like you had all these connections to just everything around you. And to
Yeah,
see that was fascinating too, was to see how the people integrated with the land. It wasn't like, oh man, I felt stupid asking this, but I asked Marco on the way down there, and I kind of knew I would get an answer I didn't expect, kind of thing. Um, but I said, how do you manage ownership of the land here, right? I imagine you guys don't have like deeds of land ownership, and it's like, of course, he looked at me like I was stupid, and he's like, well, it's just the villages own the land, so
yeah,
when we want to use it, we go ask them, and maybe we trade something, or it's just they take care of the land, and it's kind of theirs. There's no like, oh, you have plot 17A, like here everything's cut out.
yeah.
Anyways,
No.
um, so going back to the medicines, Kambo, that's interesting. I didn't have a psychedelic or a kind of vision, so to speak, on Kambo. Mine was very physical, as is true, I find, with a lot of people. And then they have somewhat spiritual events kind of afterward, or maybe the days following.
Yeah,
It has that been your experience too? Like I always tell people, the first time you do Kambo, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be different than every other time you do Kambo.
yeah,
How true is that?
yeah. The first time is always probably the most intense of the sessions when you do Kambo. And I think it's because your body's now being introduced to this medicine, never just doesn't know what it is, and it's strong.
Mhm.
Um, but when I'm sharing with people, I notice they usually have a really strong purge the first time, because it's the first time that they're using it. And Kambo wants to clean you, wants to clean your guts, wants to clean your intestine. So people do a lot of cleaning. I notice when I'm working with Kambo, I want to say maybe 30-40% of the people pass out the first time when I'm sharing. And what I've noticed is when people pass out, and I don't know how true, right? This is opinion based on
Sure.
experience. So what I've gathered is the people that are passing out, when I have a conversation with them before, after, both, they're telling me they do feel that they've been holding on to a lot of negative energy. They feel that there are people in their lives that have wished bad on them, that they've been carrying around this strong bad juju. And I feel when people pass out is for a reason, that Campbell is working on something more spiritually. And that's why I think I had visions, especially of who I had visions of, the two people I'm very close with, and that I feel very connected to. And I feel like some people are passing out because Campbell you have to be in that state so it can work to clear this other stuff. Um, but yeah, so and sometimes I'd say, and of those people, a little more than half have visions. The others don't remember it at all. Yeah, it's amazing, and some of them become the frog. I've sat in many ceremonies where I've shared Kambo, and the person will pass out and start croaking like a frog, like Kambo. Kambo has a distinctive sound. It doesn't sound like a regular ribbit. It has its own sound. I'm not going to do it now because I don't do it justice and I sound silly. But I've heard these people, sat with them, and they have begun calling, making the sounds like Campbell. And when they come to, and I have a video of it, of one girl. I'll send it to you just so you can see. But afterwards, they'll come back and they'll tell me, "Oh, I was with the frogs. I was with the frogs. They were hugging me. They were embracing me. It is so beautiful. They don't remember croaking, but they were doing it.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. This medicine is so strong. And I don't think it's any coincidence that after Campbell, sometimes you look like the frog. I mean, it's your
Right.
yeah, it's the DNA, right? It's all we're sharing now. We're working really together with this creature. And yeah, yeah, it's really beautiful. It's magical. This medicine is so magical. Is yeah, I'm so connected to it because it can help with so many things, and people have so many different kinds of experiences. And it's like, you know, just working with it one time, people usually see some kind of change in their life. Just one time will typically see changes, and that encourages them to want to work more with it, or to go on their more of their healing journey with other things. You know, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, there's as always, there's so much to unpack there. That I did not know about I haven't experienced that, right? Like maybe the croaking effect, or um I had some folks kind of get over, hunched over, and I don't think I've had anyone pass out yet. So that's interesting. But again, I always like to use light amounts, right? So
But
anyway,
me too. I usually only use 2 dots.
really,
Uh-huh. Almost always I give 2, maybe 3, but that's it.
huh?
Uh-huh.
Maybe I'm not burning deep enough. Yeah.
No, 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 don't burn deeper. Don't burn deeper. You don't need to. I barely touch my skin, and I don't burn deep. No, I don't know. You know, I think too it's like I have this desire to work with the medicine this way, to work with it, cleaning that negative. Like I'm really, and not a lot of people have got like are focused on that. A lot of people, when they're sharing it, they're focused on cleaning you physically, which is great. You must, yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you focus and you have that other person who's sitting with the medicine, focus on this, trying to clear this negative energy or sadness or whatever, yeah, you go a different place. The medicine takes you to a different place.
That is very interesting because we're getting a little off tangent. That's Well, whatever. When I do my ceremony, right? Like that's kind of what I'm focused on, is just providing a space for the you know for the medicine to kind of get introduced and provide kind of this cleansing. And so that's really been my experience, right? Like most of my participants, not most, a few of my participants have had to, they didn't puke, or they maybe puked a little bit, but then they had to use the bathroom, right? It was like seriously cleaning out their guts. So it's interesting because that was kind of a light bulb moment of, again, the intent you put into the medicine. So me as a practitioner going into this, I now realize, like, "Wing," like, you gotta focus your intent too, idiot. so so thank you for that. Do you ever find that I find it funny, right? So this is a fun little anecdote, is people will ask me about Kambo, and it's like, well, if you've never experienced anything like this, there's no easy way to explain it that's truly gonna make sense how that experience is. It's like
Yeah.
you can describe to people like, oh yeah, it's gonna burn a little, you're gonna get very flush, you'll feel lightheaded, and this, like, you just gotta focus on breathing and kind of describe that process. But then when they get into it, they're like, this is so much worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you run into a lot of people that I guess are interested and don't make that commitment, that kind of scares them away, or
Well, yeah, a lot of it depends on people's experiences with other things in life, and they kind of correlate, like the way I'm describing Kambo, to something in their past. And the way I describe it to somebody who's never sat with the medicine, I'm like, I'll tell them, listen, this thing is going to clean you. It works on mental, physical, spiritual. I tell them about what the natives are working with Kambo, how they clear, Panema negative energy, and how negative energy transforms into physical ailments. And this is what the focus is. But I say, it's really strong. You're probably going to want to take it off. You're probably going to be upset with me when you're sitting with this medicine, maybe, but I'm going to push you. And you got to remember to drink your water. When you feel like you're dry heaving, you drink your water so you can purge, because you don't want to sit there and dry heave and have, cramps in your stomach either. But I always tell them, it's going to get very hard. It feels like the medicine's scanning your body. but remember, it's getting hard for a reason. There's reason why, because it's doing a very deep clean. There's peptides in here, is working with your DNA. Like, this is just how the medicine is. So it must work deep on you. And you have to make the decision when you're in there, why, to remember why you are sitting with this medicine, to push yourself and realize to heal, you have to work. And I tell this to people almost verbatim, all, whoever I'm sharing with. And most people, they're really wanting to sit there and do the work and work on themselves. And so they're determined. They're going to sit there and they're going to try. And some of them, then I give them the medicine and they want to take it off in a few minutes. And I remember at the beginning, it used to upset me because I'm like, fuck, they're wasting the medicine, But now after a few years of working with it now, I leave people as they are. I cannot push somebody if they're not ready. So I leave them, because truly they can take the medicine off in a few minutes. It's still working on them. They're probably still going to purge. They're probably still going to feel the heaviness. It would work more if they left it and really gave it a chance. But I don't push. When people are ready, they're ready. And yeah, it depends. I try to scare people, though. I do try and scare them when I tell them, because I know how heavy that is. And I don't want to speak about it I want to scare them a little, so they're very prepared.
Well, and the interesting thing for me is, it's like, even no matter what I say, because I do the same thing. It's like, if you walk into set people up to where they have the best expectation they can, right? That always sets people up to have a better experience if they know what they're walking into, as opposed to, oh no, this is gonna be fine, don't worry, you won't feel a thing. They're gonna be upset, and that's gonna ruin the experience if they go in there with that mindset and then they go through the real experience. So it's always funny though. It's like, no matter how much I try to scare someone, without being like, you're gonna feel like you're gonna die. And I've said that before too. Like,
I've said that before too.
Yeah, it feels like, holy shit, I'm gonna die.
It does.
Just relax, focus, breathe, calm down.
Breathe, yes.
I'm right here with you, and I will make sure that you come back.
Yeah.
You're not gonna die, So, and then they do it, and they're like, man, I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah.
I tried to explain it. I really did.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is, even after most people, at least I've seen, after they have that strong experience where they feel like they're going to die, then they call you in a few days and they're like, yeah, that was awesome. When can we do it again?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Because even that was the thing with, ayahuasca. You hear about, sometimes there's these terrible nightmare visions. Everyone who's ever, I can honestly say, my trip in Peru was the absolute worst time I've ever had in my life, between like the bugs, the visions, the processing workshop, all this shit. It was the absolute worst vacation I've ever been on. And I cannot wait to do it again. Like, I am so excited to go do it again. And so you're right. Like, I tell people, like, the jungle, you got to pay the piper up front, and it's a heavy toll. It's amazing medicine. It's, all the things down there, they heal, but there's typically a cost extracted. And it's pretty intense, right? I'm not going to kill you, but it's an intense journey, right? These are intense medicines.
Yeah.
And so it's funny when people, have that experience where they now just really appreciate how powerful it is. So you talked a little bit about other medicines, hape or rape. That's one I know of, but for those who may not know it, and I think I do a poor job explaining it, what is that, and how is it, like, what would someone use it for?
So rape, I say rape, hape, more they say in Brazil, same thing though. It's a shamanic snuff. It's different plants, different plant powders, and it should be really pulverized. That different tribes, there are also rapes not made by tribes, but the ones, I think the best ones are the ones that are made by different tribes in Brazil. They're mainly made by tribes in Brazil. Peru, we have matzes who make nu, but it's not considered rape, though it's used in the same way. But anyways, they're different plant powders that you use as a snuff. You would blow it. You don't inhale. You just blow it up the nose. Somebody can serve you or you can serve yourself. And it's used for different things. It's used for migraine, for health reasons, used for migraines, for sinus. Um, um, it can be used for stress and things like this, but natives also use it to clear panema. That's negative energy. They say it works for this. The natives are typically using it themselves for hunting. They do strong doses of rapé, and it gives them visions as to where they need to go in the jungle to find their next kill. Um, I use it a lot for stress, though. It's good and for grounding. Like when I want to sit and do meditation, sometimes I just have a little, and it just puts me in the place where I want to be. But most of them are made with tobacco, so it's a little bit strong. There are some that are not made with tobacco. Yeah, there's different ones, and people use them for different things. But it's really beautiful medicine. If anything, I'd say all of them work really well to ground you. It's like to bring you back to earth. And of course, because you're taking the earth, and you're taking the earth. Yeah, you're taking the earth.
That's kind of how I describe it, or relate it to people, is, and how I use it is just that, right? Sitting down, it feels to me when I use rapé, no matter where my thoughts are, no matter however expanded, it's just like they get stuck right. I'm right here. I'm home.
Yeah.
I'm grounded, and now if I want to sit there and like, okay, let's focus my mind, it's a lot easier than trying to let's spend time roping in on thoughts and getting rid of the stress of the day or whatever it be. Maybe blow this up there at the time. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. It's beautiful for this. Yeah.
And there was another one you were describing. We had talked about it before we started recording the call, but there was a medicine that you are now starting to get into. But I think you learned, if I'm not mistaken, on one of your journeys recently, where you kind of detach from the world, went into isolation in some senses with a spiritual group, and did kind of
the Vipassana. Is that what you're talking about? No.
It may be. It's what is that?
I just did Vipassana last month. It was a 10-day silent retreat. And they teach you Buddhist technique of meditation. And I recommend that for everyone. And I recommend it because number one, it's free. All the Vipassana courses you will find are free, 10 days. You go, you sleep there, you eat there. And at the end of the 10 days, they ask if you want to give donation from your heart, whatever that may be. I think that's beautiful because it's just work, like pure from the heart. They are trying to help people. But the Vipassana helped me so much more, I think, because I cut myself off from the phone, from social media, from everything, from communication with anybody for 10 days. And I needed that 10 days. I haven't had 10 days like that since the cell phone was invented. You know what I mean? Like I haven't had 10 days where I just was with myself. So a lot came for me in the Vipassana, but I don't know if that's what you were talking about.
I believe it was another plant medicine, but I am glad you brought that up. In this, am I saying it right? Vipassana? Is so you said it's a silent retreat. Like, are you actually kind of walking around and not to be too silly about it, but like they hit you with the stick if you say something, kind of thing?
No, but you'll be looked at. Like nobody talks to each other in there. You're assigned a manager, like one person that's working there, and then the main teacher. You can talk to the two of them. Otherwise, no, you don't talk to the participants that are there. You shouldn't. No, when you're eating, you're not talking with anyone. They even say you try to avoid eye contact because even body language you shouldn't have. They separate the men and the women, so you're really focused on yourself and your energy. And yeah, it was nice. I've had two really great medicine experience. No, it's two great spiritual experiences where no medicine was involved. And one was this Vipassana, and the other one was Temazcal, which is like a sweat lodge that they do, traditional sweat lodge in Mexico. That was amazing. I encourage everyone to do that too, because that's something, you're not ingesting anything. You're just sitting there with yourself. I met my ancestors that day. We had conversation. It was just beautiful. And I talk about that with people all the time. There's so many tools for healing. You don't have to um partake in these plant medicines if you don't want, if there's some kind of stigma against them in your mind. There are other medicines that you can try, but most likely when you try the other ones, then you start to realize it's all God, it's all divine, it's all natural. Yeah. Yeah, but it's beautiful. I don't know what the other medicine you're talking about. I think maybe you're talking about salvia.
No, I think, and maybe I misunderstood what you said at the beginning. Uh, sorry.
It's okay.
Go
No
ahead.
worries.
I wanted to touch on what you said about there's so many different tools available to kind of go down this journey. For me, I had tried not many psychedelics before, maybe acid, but not even a high dosage. So it's kind of, you kind of had this experience of oneness, but not really. It was a cool little trip, so to speak, where I didn't really see anything of, I wasn't being chased by gnomes or anything.
Huh.
But so ayahuasca was kind of a first time I had experienced any kind of vision like that. And so I had it in my head that, gosh, I need to do, I want to try DMT now. I want to try, all these different things, San Pedro, yada, yada, yada. But there was an event in a town near mine where this gal was putting on a guided vision ceremony by using a gong, right? And so I was friends with this person. I was like, well, yeah, that'd be cool to experience, whatever it is, it's a breathing exercise that I know. And I had one of the most vivid visions, just laying there on the floor. You go through different breathing to kind of prepare your body, prepare your um, body soul complex, how all this ties together, just get in the zone, get grounded. And then she'd take you through this thing. And then she was just beating the shit out of this gong in this little warehouse. And it was, oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was like one of the most profound visions I've had. And I reached an understanding about myself that I've been struggling with a long time. So to your point, like it's actually cool that you can simply get there with breathing. I teach that to some people. There's a series of breathings you can do and just, bye. I mean, it's not going to be as intense as ayahuasca, right? You're not waking up somewhere else, but you do have these um, just amazing connections with what we're told is silly, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. It's just like these big reminders that w- there are things out there. There's so many things out there. There's so many things out there. If you're ready and if you're looking, um, there are tools out there for you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the combination of them is just wow.
Yeah.
If you can sit and you experience, because I look at it like I have this goal. um since working with ayahuasca, I've seen the power of ayahuasca and how these plants can take you on a journey like this. Even Kambo is this frog, and how it can take you on this healing journey. And since then, since my first times, I'm like, okay, well, there's so many cultures in the world. There's so many plants in the world. Um, they all hold these divine messages. They all hold healing in their own way, but I feel like they all have these messages, or else they wouldn't be here. People wouldn't have been utilizing them for hundreds, thousands of years. I would love to sit with as many as I can while I'm here and see what they are about, see what messages they bring. Not necessarily to share with other people, but from my experience, I must do this. I must do this. Yeah.
So you grew up in the United States, and I believe, right? I'm not getting.
Uh-huh. Florida.
There's. Did you ever play Nintendo as a kid?
I did.
Mario.
Loved it.
So it's interesting. I relate our lives often back to video games. How there's this energy, in a Nintendo system, there's electrical current passing through the system. And it contains, you know, each little stream has programming that kind of makes it show up differently on the screen. So, it, you know, going back to Mario, you know, that can go as deep as you want down the rabbit hole. Back to Mario, it's like, it's cool to now see, like you said, there's all these different cultures know these amazing secrets that they've discovered about, you know, whatever part of the earth they are from or they're around, or, you know, everyone's kind of figured out all these things. And it's kind of like when you go to World 1 on Mario and you hit a box and then boom, you got a mushroom. And so,
Yeah.
you know, then you go a little bit further and there's a freaking flower power or power flower, whatever. You can start throwing fireballs, and then you get to the second world and you're a fish, and it's very similar to where in every place there's always these skills or medicines or power-ups that we find on the level that are going to give us some ability that we can then take with us on our journey forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think even to other lifetimes, you know, you're waking up something inside you for sure.
Integrating all those different parts of like this is where it gets, you know, deep, but integrating all those different parts of all your different selves and kind of bringing them together. It's like
Yeah.
everyone's on their own journey about as stupid. There's that movie One or something where Jet Li had to, you know, go fight it all his other selves. Instead, just integrate. But anyway,
Yeah.
So what's next for your healing? Are you continuing to share? I see that you're continuing to share Kambo.
Hmm.
What are you wanting to expand into, if anything, or do you just plan to kind of continue that practice for the foreseeable future?
Kambo, I think I'm always going to work with. I feel like it. How can I not? How can I not? I know it touches so many different things. So for sure, I think I'm always going to have that tool on my belt. There are other medicines that I feel really drawn to, but I really want to take the time to learn the medicines traditionally before I share them. So I have work to do before I start on. There's two other medicines I really, really, really feel connected to that I must go to Mexico and learn traditionally how to share these medicines first. And then for sure I want to. I also feel really connected when I'm in Peru working with the shamans that are when we are serving ayahuasca. I don't think I can serve that. I don't think I've nearly, I mean, I've been sitting with the medicine for 5 years now, but I haven't been training with it.
Right.
And I think that's like something really important that a lot of people do not do. At least that I've seen here in the States, you know, they drink a few times and now they're going to share the medicine. And that's scary, man. That's like a scurry. It's not safe. You know, I want to do more plant diets. I know I've been wanting to, but then I'm a mommy now of a 3-year-old and 1.5. So I've had a 3-year break from doing diets. So I plan on doing to start that up again soon. Because there's deeper work there. The shamans do say that in Peru. They say, you know, if you are coming down for healing, ayahuasca is going to help you. But if you are ready to do work, you do plant diet. So plant diet's my next journey. I have started with a few, and it is intense. The diets are intense, but I got a lot more from them.
Like the shamanic diets?
Yeah, the plant diets are, so I did a short one with Reinaco, which is the banyan tree. So they made a resin. I drank the resin from this tree for 5 days. You drink in the morning, and then you're drinking a shot of it in the morning, and then your diet for the day: no salt, no sugar, no oil, no meat, no fruits, because fruits are full with even natural sugar. You don't want to eat anything sweet. So I was eating very bland, whatever it was that I was eating, and water, right? It was intense. And I had, when you do diet, you have ayahuasca ceremony during the diet, typically with whatever plant you're drinking it and diet combined into the ayahuasca. And my journeys were I learned a lot. I connected with myself a lot, but I did a very short diet, only 5 days of Renato. People usually, if you're training to be shaman, you're going to do it for a month. Like people are doing, yeah. And you must, if anybody who's sharing medicine, sharing ayahuasca, you must diet mapacho at some point. And I know people dieting mapacho for weeks at a time. And mapacho is, you're drinking tobacco tea.
Oh,
Just think about that. So the diets are really intense, but there's a lot of work that gets done in them, and you get a lot of messages. So when you want to find your Icaro, when you want to find your song, they say, you sit and diet, and the song comes to you of what your song will be when you're in this healing space. Yeah.
I want to talk to you more about that afterward.
Mm-hmm.
So for people listening, right? So let's say, somebody is listening to this and they're like, gosh, I want to go find someone that offers Kambo. What should I ask them to make sure, it as best as I can, right? Obviously, you can never tell 100% if someone's been trained, genuine, whatever. But what are some good things that I should be asking to
To a practitioner?
Yes, ma'am. Of a practitioner. I ask?
How long have you been working with this medicine? That's a great first question. How long have you been working with it? I think it's very important to ask, have you collected the medicine yourself? Have you met Kambo? I think it's important because you're sharing it. So you must have that connection. I think there's a respect that comes with that too. And that's for people more so, like I know people who've been sharing Kambo for years and they've made it into this calling themselves like Kambo royalty and all this shit. And they've never met Kambo. And I'm like, you ain't no queen. You ain't no Kambo queen. You're not no Kambo king. You never met Kambo. You can't say that. I think it's really important. I think that's a good question to ask too. Is if you met Kambo. Another good question to ask is, where do you get your medicine from? Because some people are just ordering this stuff on eBay and you don't know what's coming. So
wow.
I think it's very important. Yeah. People are just ordering online, finding the best deal. And okay, I get it, like money wise, I guess, but you have there is I don't know if respect is the right word, or if it's just you have to do your due diligence too. If you're sharing it, you have to know where that medicine is coming from. I think that's really important. A lot of people don't. They just buy it online. They don't know. And I think that's another reason why I think it's important to meet Kambo, because it's like you get the medicine stick and you're using the medicine, but you don't know how that medicine got there. And it's so important because once you collect it yourself, you really do work with the medicine differently. 100% of the people who have come to meet Kambo tell me that they work with the medicine differently after meeting. And that's because they collect and they see how much work it is to collect that medicine. So now they're utilizing it differently. Not everybody. I'm not going to say everybody because some people still wasting, but most utilize it differently. And they just have that stronger connection because now you're sharing and you remember your time when you were there. So that energy is there. I don't know. And yeah. So I think it's important to ask how long they've been working with it and where they get their medicine from. Those are two really, really important questions. Where are you getting your medicine and how long you've been working with it? And if you have like something that you're wanting to work on, like say you have psoriasis, and that's why you want to work with Kambo, ask their experience. They may not, maybe they have shared experience, like, somebody they work with knows and they can share that with you, because everybody's on their own journey and how much time they've been working with the medicine. So I wouldn't not work with somebody if they didn't have that. If somebody didn't have a lot of years experience, or if somebody didn't have a lot of experience working with somebody with psoriasis or somebody with something specific, I personally wouldn't say I won't work with them. I wouldn't do that. I think even more so, it comes down to the respect people have when they are holding space and how they are working with the medicine. That's most important than anything. And that's not something you can ask somebody. That's something you see for yourself. You get that vibe from people. That's really important. But yeah. I'm like rambling, but yeah, I think those two
No, it's
questions.
good. Because I was just thinking, like, I've never collected it. I was introduced to it. I started using it myself on myself, and it saved me. Um, I know for a fact in 2019, beginning of 2019, you remember Nicole? She
Mhm.
was on there. She was a medical doctor, and I was in a very bad way. Like my vision was kind of blurring. I was getting very gaunt. I was very skinny. Wounds would not heal, so if I got a cut, like it took forever to heal. Um, and of course, I go to the VA. Right, I go to the VA. They take my blood. I sit down with the doctor after 6 months of waiting, and then the doctor's like, "Well, you're healthy as a horse." And I said, "Doc, I don't feel healthy. In fact, I feel like I'm gonna die." He's like, "No, no, no, you're fine. Everything's good." And I could see on his monitor, right? It's like all my blood results was like abnormal, normal, abnormal. Every other one was abnormally high or abnormally low.
Yeah.
I said, "Doc, like I can see that says it's all wrong." And he's like, "Oh no, they're just a little off. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
You want a tetanus shot?" And I was like,
oh,
so I asked for a printout of these results. I knew Nicole had been working in blood work and kind of reading all that stuff, and I said, "Hey, would you mind taking a look at these for me and just tell me if anything comes to mind that I can change? I feel like shit." And so I faxed these over to her or whatever, and she called me. Like I remember I was at my desk at work, and I was like, type, take these, take a look at these, blah blah, send. And I was going to walk out to my car to get in, go grab some lunch. And on my way to my car, she called me and she's like, "What are you doing right now?" So now I'm going to lunch, blah blah. She's like, "Okay, so you need to go sit down and talk to me. Like you need to stop whatever you're doing and we need to talk right now." I was like, "Dude, you're kind of scaring me." And she said, "Well, you should be scared because your liver's shutting down, right?" So
oh,
I was like, "Well, what do you mean? Like, how can you tell that?" And so she starts going over these blood results, and we have this perception that cholesterol is a bad thing. Too much is, because cholesterol is actually like the little medics in your body that go fix things that are produced by your liver. Um, and according to my blood results, like my liver was not producing any cholesterol. Like it had given up trying to fix my body. Uh,
oh,
right. And so like it was this very stern conversation of, dude, you cannot drink certain things anymore. You cannot eat certain things anymore. You have to do like, and even then you might be fucked, So that was a strong moment for me where, um, I don't know if I'd ordered Kambo before that and maybe not used it or whatever, but I remember like, I was like, shit, I need to use this medicine again because I hadn't used it for a while. And I'd used it a few times, quite a few times. And there was a lot of changes I had to make. I had to, I cut out a lot of things from my diet, um, which was interesting. That was a vision that Mother Ayahuasca gave me. I remember that night I asked her what was next, and she showed me that. She showed this flower kind of blossoming and then it dying, because in my stomach, it went in my stomach and it showed all these like Pepsi cans and Dorito bags and all this shit going through, and then the flower died. And
oh,
that's what happened in real life, right? Like when I came back from Peru, I went right back into drinking energy drinks 2 or 3 times a day and eating Doritos and surviving off cigarettes. Like that was my diet for years. And so it finally caught up. And then there was something else. I don't know what it was, but something went and washed my gut away. And then the flowers started growing. And so I done Kambo several times. I started changing my diet, and I got a lot better. Obviously, I'm not dead, so that's good. Still working as far as I know. Um, but oh man, I'm sorry. I kind of got on a
no,
tangent.
but you know what? That's different. You see, you had this profound healing experience with the medicine, and you felt very called to share that medicine now with people because you want to help people, knowing how it helped you. And that goes into the respect that you have now for this medicine, you know. And I do feel that you will be coming down to meet Kambo. I think you have that in your plans at some point. So
Very
yeah,
excited.
yeah, man, you better go share that medicine because you're doing it from a pure place. You're doing it from your heart. You want to help people. So yeah, and I encourage people, sometimes I share medicine with people and they tell me they have family or friends that are not well, and is it okay if I go and share with them? And I'm never going to tell you no. I'm never going to say no. If you feel called to help somebody, especially if it's friends or family, go and help them. I mean, of course, you're going to share with them that you hadn't shared with, you didn't, whatever the case is, that you've only been working with it for yourself, but you share with them. I'm more talking about people who are making this like a huge business, and yeah, like if you're making this a huge business, this is how you're making income. You owe it to the people that you're sharing with and to yourself, especially if you've been doing this for years. You owe it to all these people and yourself to go and pay your respect to this frog, to
Well,
go and
you owe it to the medicine, right? Because you are using, what this animal is producing, and like you said,
yes,
it's not. I've never experienced it firsthand, but I've seen a lot of these posts that you've shared where it's not a pleasant experience for the frogs.
yeah,
In fact, it can be a very damaging experience for the frogs if someone doesn't respect it, and they
yeah,
end up hurting or killing frogs just to get this medicine, and then
yeah,
flip it for a buck. Like, absolutely, there is no respect in that.
yeah.
There's no honor in that, and I am excited. There was a lot of things that first, it was overload, right? That first experience in Peru, just 100% absolute overload. Uh, and things I, wanted to spend more time on. And then, obviously, as soon as we came out of the jungle, hopped on a flight, went home. Uh, but oh man, I could have spent lifetimes down there, and I'm excited to return soon.
Yeah,
Uh,
it'd
just
be awesome.
yes, and then we're hoping to also. We don't know how big the group is, uh, but there's at least a handful of us to also go see Machu Picchu afterward.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that the first time. Which whatever, that had to happen right now. So that's very exciting. I'm very excited to be back down in Peru, in the jungle. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
We are coming up on time. I feel like we could go on for so long.
Oh, we'll do it again. We'll do it again.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
There's so much people need to know about this stuff and how helpful it is, and how, it's crazy. I'm going to keep going on. Just how many people were helped with things that, our modern medicine said, sorry, we can't help you, and you should probably pack your bags because you're dying. And even in that first group, there were several people who had been told that by the top people. And here's this guy who has no running water or electricity, looks at you, goes off in the jungle, brings you a plant, and then ta, no pill subscription, no come back in a week, no nothing. It's gone. There you go. Have
Yeah,
a nice day. And it's not like he's like, oh, I need to know your insurance because I got to bill you extra for that leaf.
yeah. I know, I know.
So
Big
ridiculous.
difference. Big difference.
Yes.
Hmm.
So I will have you on soon again. And yeah, I'm so excited to write down. But anywho, everyone, thanks for listening. We will talk to Natasha again soon so she can share a lot more of the knowledge about these plant medicines, ways they can help us grow, heal, and just be better people. Thank you so much for joining us this week. And we'll talk again soon.